It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso, and we're going to ask you now to just brace yourself for a rather emotional chat, because it's certainly an area that has deeply affected us. We are honouring the fortitude of women in the midst of August, and one of our beloved Expresso family members, Jenny Morris, has seen an outpouring of strength and love being sent her way, understandably, as she sadly lost her dearest husband, David Morris, in mid-July. Our most sincere condolences go out once again to Jen and her beautiful family over what must be one of the most difficult times of their lives.
So true, G. Now, as we take this moment of remembrance, we thought we would have a chat with our clinical psychologist, Asha Dullabh, to get some advice for women who are also grieving the loss of their spouses in these heartbreaking times. Asha, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm well.
It's strange, I suppose, that the two gents are doing this, but it's in an effort for us to be able to understand better, and especially if those who are watching can apply this. We want women who are watching to be able to take something away, but also we know that there is so much support needed during a time like this. So hopefully we can be that model that other men and families can work off. A very difficult idea to broach, but something that we all have to at some point in our lives, the idea of our mortality. And it's one thing to consider it, it's another thing when it's thrust into your life, in this case, in the most devastating way. Why is it so different for men and for women in terms of how we process grief like this?
So within all of us, we all have a masculine and feminine energy archetype within us, and we need to understand how we grieve. So some of us can grieve in a more masculine way, where we kind of withdraw and we sort of want to be by ourselves and not seek out the support, and we sort of just want to get on with life. We just want to fix it and sort of avoid the expression of it. Where on a more feminine level, we will then tell our story. We want to seek out the support, seek out the help, get our circle of support together and tell our story and express our feelings. And some of us do it differently, and we need to understand how we do it. And that will help us in understanding the way we grieve. Some of us go into the feeling mode, some of us go into the doing mode to try and cope and go through the grieving process.
And neither is right or wrong.
Yes, yes.
Well, let's talk about that process, because, I mean, when it comes to men and women, I mean, is there a potential difference in terms of how we grieve? And when it comes to women specifically, how does one, or how do women generally grieve with such a big loss, their partner, their husband, or something so close to them?
Yeah, I think women we are emotional by nature. Of course, we go into a mode where we are more expressive in our emotions. So, as I said, men will maybe not be as expressive, and it's a conditioned response where men are raised not to express more freely.
Be tough.
And be tough, where women are, more natural at doing so. So it's a good thing because we are able to express ourselves. But like I say, there are some women that can go into that masculine energy and just pull away and want to sort of gain a sense of control and get on with their life too quickly.
And I suppose often it's a survival mechanism, because sometimes life does move on and you've got to kind of just, stand up and deal with the situation that's right in front of you. Yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. There is the notion maybe that men can move on and find another partner and deal with that grief, and maybe process or not process that grief more quickly. Is this true? Is this just a stigma?
Well, you know what? Actually, there's more women available than men. So very often what happens is that women are more self-nurturing, where men tend to want to sort of go back and to reclaim that happiness they experience and that connection. So they would want to seek out another partner and move on. But I mean, women do so as well. We all want to bond. It's natural to find that companion and bond.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's no right or wrong at all in this process.
As a general stance, I mean, there's obviously never a definitive in terms of what you must do, how you must grieve, how you're supposed to feel. But what sort of advice would you have for someone or anybody potentially struggling, especially in a time right now, which is becoming very common, unfortunately? People suffering with loss, suffering with grief, especially women out there. Is there advice for them to go through this process correctly or anything to be aware of?
Sure. So to understand grief, the way we grieve will also be very reflective of the way we approach life in general. So it goes hand in hand. But of course, you know, what we need to do is not to forget our basic needs. Look after our basic needs. Always draw in on your support circle, your tribe. Seek out the help. There's no harm in asking for help. Of course, you know, let's revert back to our gratitude, our prayer, our meditation. All of those techniques really help us and express and tell your story, you know.
Trying to do all of this in a perfect world, you can just process these dark and deep emotions and move on, but we know the reality is very different. So we certainly send our condolences to everyone who has suffered loss. I'm thinking specifically right now of Connie Ferguson, who I've been lucky enough to work with over the years. Shauna Ferguson tragically passed away before moving into the weekend, and a massive void in our industry has been left, but far more so. That family has been so deeply affected, and they've asked that the press and the public at large give them the space that they need to be able to grieve. But we are certainly sending in our own way whatever love and positive energy and our prayers to the Ferguson family, to the beautiful family, and of course the fans as well, who will be feeling his loss in the most fundamental way at the moment. So sending you all of our love.